Now, we started on this yesterday, or Monday, and we talked about these equations here. And I'm going to go on and write them on the board, because we had two different forms of this equation. Y is equal to 1 over 4p x squared. And the focus of this here is the point 0 comma p. And our directrix is the equation y is equal to negative p. And our axis of symmetry is the equation x is equal to 0. Now the other equation we had was x is equal to 1 over 4p y squared, where the focus is the point p comma 0. Our directrix is the equation x is equal to negative p. And our axis of symmetry is y is equal to 0. And I stated this I think a few times, but the vertex for both of these here is the point 0, 0. It's for these equations here, and what we're working with, the vertex, the smallest or biggest point is 0, 0. And when we talk about it opening left and right, we're saying biggest or smallest along the x. When it's opening up and down, we're saying biggest or smallest point on the y, just in the direction that it's opening. And we looked at these here, and the first thing we looked at was finding the equation, or finding the focus, vertex, and axis symmetry given the equation. Now we're going to go the other way around. We're going to be given either the vertex, or not the vertex, but the focus directrix, one of those two, or the axis of symmetry, and we're wanting to find the equation. So we're given the parts, or kind of the information from the equation, and we want to see what it is. We're trying to find it. Now, most of them, the piece of information will really give away which equation that we're working with. Because if we look at the general forms of both of these, the axis of symmetry, well, one is x equals, the other is y equals. They both are unique. The directrix, the same thing. One is y equals, the other is x equals. So if I have a directrix that's y equals a value, or x equals a value, we will know which one it is. Also, if we're given a focus, and the focus here, if it's 0 comma p or p comma 0, it kind of tells us which one it is. And I mean, there are some equations that we could look at that the vertex is away from the 0, 0, the origin, and there's different ways we can look at it. And again, even in those cases, the focus and the vertex would give away what it is. It will tell us what it is. But the other is if we graph it, it's either going to open up or it's going to open down. And if it opens up or down, the x term is going to be squared. Y is going to be to the first power. If it opens to the left or to the right, the x term is to the first power and the y term is squared. There's another way that we can see it. So if we look at the graph for this one here, which direction does it open? Down. So it means it's going to be the equation of y equals. Equals 1 over 4p x squared. Questions on this here so far? Now they gave us the vertex, which doesn't really help us much at all, because the vertex is the point 0, 0. Vertex is h comma k. Now, they did tell us what the directrix is. We have a flat line, yes? What value does it go through on the x or y axis? It goes through a y value of almost 3. So it's telling us y is equal to 3. That's where it crosses. You'll need both. Yeah. So you'll need the one from yesterday and the one for today. Not yesterday, but Monday.
Oh, Monday?
Yeah. You need the one from Monday and today. So any questions on this here, how we found that equation? Because the directrix is going to be a straight line, either horizontal or vertical. And for this here, the directrix is the equation y equals 3, yes? Now, looking back at the general form of this here from our general information, we kind of got that this is going to be y equals 1 over 4p times x squared, mainly because it's opening down, yes? What's the equation in the general form for the directrix? Y equals, yes? So that's another way we can tell that this is going to be this equation. Because it's telling us for its equation for the directrix is y equals negative p. Now it might be weird, why are we putting an emphasis, or why am I putting an emphasis on this? Because what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the equation, yes? And if we look at the equation, besides x and y, the only real variable that I have in this equation here is p, yes? Well, the directrix is what? Y equals negative p. I have that, so I have a way to find out what p is. Because once we find the value of p, we plug it in. So what this equation is telling us is that negative p is what? 3. Negative p is 3. Because that 3 is taking the place of negative p in this equation. Now we just need to solve for the value of 3 by we can divide both sides by negative 1. We can multiply both sides by negative 1. Telling us that p is equal to negative 3, yes? Well, if negative p is positive 3, well, positive 3 should be we're just flipping the signs. Any questions on how we got to the value of p? Plug it in. 1 over 4 times negative 3x squared. Now we do need to simplify this here. Well, 1 over 4 times negative 3. We could type that in a calculator and let it do it for us. But we know that whole fraction is going to be what? Negative, yes? Because the denominator, we have the negative, nothing to offset it, so we know this fraction is going to be negative, yes? 1. On bottom, we have 4 times 3, which is and that's it. Times 4, which is negative 12. Okay. And I just moved the negative out front just as a way to write it. But that's it. Now we could have typed in the calculator 1 over 4 parentheses negative 3 close parentheses enter, and it would have given us the answer also. So we don't have to do it by hand. Any questions on this here? Well, this one here is a little bit nicer. They went on and just gave us the equation for the directrix, yes? Y equals negative 2.5. Now we could look at the graph, or we can look at the directrix. Which one has a directrix of y equals? Well, it's our y equals 1 over 4p times x squared. So that means the general form of this equation is right here. They kind of gave it to us. It told us which one we'll be using. And the general form of the directrix is y is equal to negative p, yes? So what's that telling us? That negative p is equal to negative 2.5. So what do we know about the value of p? If negative p is negative 2.5, p is 2.5. And we could have done that by, I mean, we could have got there by dividing by negative 1. and then plug it back in. And again, at this point here, we could type this into the calculator, 1 over 4 times 2.5. Well, 4 times 2.5, we're really taking 2.5 and adding it to itself how many times? 4. So the way I would look at it is 2.5 plus 2.5, or 2.5 times 2 is 5. 5 plus 5 is? Or you can type it in a calculator and it will tell you that it's 1/10 also. Questions on any of this here? I've just found the easiest way to get there. Or the other one, the y or x, because it's all based off what they gave us. Because here they told us the directrix, or we found it on the last one, is y equals this here, yes? If we look at the two equations, the general form, for one of them the directrix is y equals negative p. And the other directrix is x equals negative p. Because for x equals, we wouldn't have a horizontal line, we would have a vertical. So here the directrix is y equals, so that means it's not going to be our x equals 1 over 4 py squared. Because its directrix is x equals negative p. That's not what we have. So it's less about, well, knowing it and intuitive, like it's going to work this way, or kind of with solving multi-steps, well, we have to do it this way. It's really, what do we have? And I match it back up with those equations. Which one does it match with? Which ones do the properties of it align? And that's the one we use. And fill in the information accordingly. And that's again with like our directrix here, because they told us y equals negative 2.5. Well, the general form of the directrix is y equals negative p, yes? Well, the y's are the same, which means this negative p and this here should be the same. That's where we get our value of p. We're just lining them up and matching them up. Does that kind of make sense? But that's really it. Questions on this here? Now this one here, they didn't give us a graph, so we can't kind of use the graph itself to tell which one up and down or left and right. But what did they tell us? They told us the directrix is what? X equals negative 3. And looking at these two here, the general forms, which one uses x equals for directrix? X equals negative p, which is exactly, and the general form is our x equals 1 over 4p times y squared, because that's the equation that has a directrix of x equals negative p, yes? So we're just matching it up. And we're going off the fact that x equals negative p is the directrix equation for this equation here. And probably from this here, some of y'all can see what the value of p is going to be. I'm just going to go on and write it out, because really what we're saying is that negative p is equal to negative 3. We can multiply both sides by negative 1 telling us p is 3. Or most of y'all have gotten used to the fact of switching the sign, because negative p equals negative 3, so p is equal to 3. Questions on this here? We good with this here so far? You're good? And the last thing we do is we plug it in. 4 times 3 times y squared. Well, luckily this one's kind of nice, because 4 times 3 is 12. And that's it for this here. Any questions on any of this here? Are you ready for the next one? So this one here gives us a focus of -2, 0. Yes? So, looking at the two equations, which one has a number in 0 for the focus? (4p y squared) is going to be this one here. And this one here is going to be the equation that we have. Now, for the focus, it's given to us by the point p comma 0, yes? Now, this here, it's a little bit nicer than the one before. Because this one here is telling us p is what? We don't have to change the sign. It's not negative p, it's just p. We already had the value. And then we... And lastly, we are going to simplify. Which gives us this here. Any questions on any of this here? We good with this here so far? Okay. And I think this is the last one of these types, yes? Now the 3/2 comma 0 is our focus. Which one does it match up to? 1 over 4p x squared. And in the general form, we have 0 comma p, which means the value of p is 3/2. Which means we just need to plug in 3/2 for p. And again, at this point, I would just type the number in. Because there are some cases where we're not just going to get a fraction like we've been doing. We could get a whole number, or it could flip. It just depends on what number we get after multiplying our p value by 4. And for this one here, we get 6. Because we could do 4 times 3 in the numerator, and 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. But again, you could have plugged that in a calculator. Any questions on this here? Okay. I'm going to have you go on